Greetings and welcome everyone to Prime World Defenders. Prime World Defenders is a tower defense game, but with a twist. The twist is that it's also a card game. I know, you're thinking, a tower defense game? But it's also a card game? What ludicrousness is this? Well, let me tell you what ludicrousness this is. This is Prime World Defenders. It's a tower... I know I'm repeating myself, but anyway. This game is actually pretty interesting in how it works. You don't really find out that it's a real card game with a tower defense game until about the first real mission. Like, I've just completed all the basic tutorial missions. Now we're actually just getting into the meat and potatoes of the game. Basically, you have all these cards. These are your towers that you collect after each mission. And you're probably thinking, well, that seems relatively straightforward. Like games like Plants vs. Zombies, you play them, and then after each mission, you'll get a new tower to place, and you use that, and you use them as your strategy. Well, that's kind of like this, except the Forge section of the game is really interesting, because you can select which enemies, or which characters, to power up. So you see here, we can infuse, like, one of these characters with another card that we have. So if you do Sign of Strength and Poison Tower, that will increase this will make the level of the character level 2.43 instead of 1, and it will also increase the efficiency by 10%, and it will cost 50 silver coins, which is our currency up here. So we can change that, and we can fuse them together to make it a higher level. Simple as that. So this is actually one of the main points of the game. So when you are playing the game and you find a really difficult spot, rather than trying to change your strategy, you just grind, and that has a massive impact on how the game is played, because rather than actually using strategies and trying to find out the best possible way to play the game, you just grind, and that's a really, really massive change to the game. So let's actually just get it started on a level difficulty that's easy. Sure. So that's a massive change to the game, because what will happen is, instead of when you start playing the game and you and you get to a level that's difficult, you don't think, oh shit, I must be doing something wrong. You think, oh no, I obviously don't have the best cards, I need to start grinding. And that is a real problem, I think. So let me just get into the basic gameplay mechanics of how the tower defense game works. The tower defense section of the game works. So this is your main part of the game. You will always be playing in the tower defense section unless you're playing with your cards. So when we place a tower, just places, and then it starts shooting at enemies and some other random objects in the map. But we can also place it on these little symbol things, which will give it a stat boost. So we can see here that thing will increase its damage, and now it will shoot the enemies, but with 30% more damage, and that's very interesting stuff. And that's also starting to get away. Let's place a slingshot, which is dedicated to attacking flying enemies. So you can see here, these units that are shooting the arrows, these are kind of half-assed both. Like, they can shoot both ground units and air units, but they aren't especially good at either of those. So that's why you might want to get something like this, which is like this little slingshot here, which is really good at just targeting air units. So yeah, the basic units that you can verse are air units or ground units. So you can see these harpies are air units because, they're flying, so it makes sense that they're air units. But there are also units like these ones over here who just apparently walk out from under the ground or something like that. That's goofy, but yeah, they can only be targeted by towers that can shoot ground units or something like that. So there is a bit of strategy that you also have to account for. You can't just be placing air units only, because if you only place air units, then you'll end up getting wrecked when a ground unit pops up, like these guys. And that's actually bad. I need to quickly hurry up. Oh damn, these guys are going to be able to take all my stuff. Actually, this is really interesting, the fact that on their way up here, these towers will actually shoot behind them in order to get them. So I believe you can see here that tower just shot that thing, and I think maybe it'll happen here. Yep, there we go. So even though they're actually getting up there, the towers will be like, whatever, you don't care that you're already away from us. So you do have a second chance on getting them, which is actually kind of nice, I suppose. But it makes sense since this is like the easy level. Although these levels are actually randomly generated. There are the single player missions, and then there are some randomly generated tower defense sections of the game, which are like this. This is randomly generated. Like this you'll have randomly generated maps and enemies that will spawn in amount of waves and stuff like that. And so it's pretty interesting because it increases the replayability by a lot, which is good because otherwise it would get really annoying grinding when you're playing the game, because, you know, you pretty much only play this game just to get your amount of cards that you have increased. Like, you don't play it because you want to, like, you don't play the randomly generated missions because you just want to. You know, you play them so you can get more cards, so you can continue the main story. But that's a real problem I have with the game, is that you don't ever think, like, you aren't really that important. It's the amount of cards that you have that are important. Like, if you fail a mission, it's not like, oh shit, I must have been doing terrible, I must have been placing some towers in the wrong way. No. It's just that, oh, I obviously didn't have the correct amount of cards for that specific level. Like, some of the early levels are really difficult to beat, but then as soon as you get one new card, it's like, holy shit, this is a cakewalk. So there's this real artificial difficulty of sorts where it's like, it's not difficult because I'm rubbish, it's difficult because the game hasn't given me this incredibly overpowered card yet. And I don't really like that, because it really takes all of the enjoyment out of it, because I'm not winning this game. My cards are winning the game for me. I'm only just placing them. The cards are doing all the tough work. And if I don't have enough power in certain cards, well, then I just need to continually play the game more and more to level and fuse my cards up. And so it's like, well, I'm not the real reason that's why I'm succeeding. So it feels really disingenuous of the game, because it's basically just like to make you feel more powerful when you really aren't. So it's a bit lame in that regard, I feel. So you see here, like, see, at the end of every randomly generated mission, you will get a card, then you'll shuffle them. And I think this is the main reason why it's like this, is because it's an iOS game, and this is them trying to get money from in-app purchases of sorts. This is what I think anyway. So, like, if we go to the store over here, you'll see, like, oh, you can purchase booster packs and starter sets and random stuff like that. And it's just like, it seems like the real money grabbing, and it basically just means that this is grinding the game, so you have to constantly repeat the same action, the same tower defense levels. Like, they are randomly generated, and so you're always replaying the same ones over and over and over and over and over again. Well, sorry, you're not always playing the same ones over and over and over again. They're randomly generated, but still you are pretty much doing the same thing. You're placing towers, you're having the towers do all the tough work for you. Like, you're not doing any of the strategy. You aren't real. There's no strategy. There's really no strategy involved in this game. There's a bit where it's like, oh, I've got to learn where to place them. But aside from that, it's like, oh, you know, whatever. So it just feels really weird. So let me just show you what I mean by this again. So let's just go in here. So what I mean by there is some strategy is like in the placement of this. Like, oh, this thing here, this little spinning thing, that will give a boost to my tower. So if I place something there, then the attack speed will increase, and this will have the damage increased, and then attack speed again. So that changes how it works. But aside from that, that's pretty much it in terms of strategy. So everything else is pretty much just, if you have a strong enough tower, then you're fine. If not, then oh well, just continually play the game and more and more and more until you have a good enough tower to beat the game for you, and you become overpowered. Like, so it's a bit like an RPG, a bad RPG in that sense, where you aren't, like, if you get stuck on a section because you're under-leveled, there's nothing you can do except for grinding and playing, you know, side quests of sort. Like, this is essentially like a side quest. You're playing the side quest in order to level up and, you know, increase what damage you can do and your statistics and stuff like that. And it feels really weird. Like, there's actually a skill tree of sorts in the main menu. So if we go back to the main menu, you can see that there's like a skill tree that you can unlock certain abilities for when you level up as well. So I suppose this is a tower defense role-playing game, and it doesn't really fit well because it removes that element of strategy that tower defense games have. And that's, like, tower defense games by nature aren't really strategic based, but that's the main thing they have in order to give you, like, any real sense of accomplishment. You're like, oh hell yeah, I did that. I'm the man. I like selected which cards to use for which section, and I did it perfectly. I'm the greatest commander ever. But in this, it's like, oh, just pick whatever does the highest damage and stuff like that, and then just let it all do the work for you. Like, you don't really need to do that much thinking. Like leveling up my units here, like, when you click them, you can only level them up after you have evolved your units, your towers, into level 2. So like when you get duplicates of the same cards, you can put them together to evolve them into a more powerful version than their default one. And if you don't have that, well then you just are going to have a much more difficult time. So it's like this artificial difficulty where it's like, oh, this isn't a really difficult game. This just means I haven't collected the right amount of cards in order to beat the game without a, in a sense. Like, to really make this game difficult, all you have to do is just not level up your cards at all. So it's essentially like playing an RPG and not leveling up and trying to beat the game. So it's like, well, that's just silly, isn't it? And that's what this game feels like. This game doesn't feel like I'm having any real impact on the game. When I struggle in this game, I'm not thinking, oh man, I'm really not having a good day. I'm not strategizing correctly. I'm thinking, oh man, better start grinding this game so I can get a better card, so I can have a better chance. Yeah. And like, there's also this random element to it as well, that you don't know which card you're going to get, so there's even more of a chance that you have to continually grind and grind and grind to get a specific card. Like, so when we go into Forge and we go to Evolution, if we select a Fire Tower and then another Fire Tower, we can level them up and evolve them into a level 2 character. So, like, putting them together, fancy little animation, we now have a new level for it so that we can level it up. So see how we've got ×2 damage there, or ×2 level? That just will increase our damage by, like, that actually does double our damage. So there's no point, so we've just doubled how effective that card is in its damage. So it's like, that is a straight upgrade, and that will make the whole game significantly easier on you because you've leveled up your character. So it feels really lame how you just don't really have that much of an impact on the game. It's really just, how long are you willing to grind for, or how long are you willing to, you know, try and wait to purchase this kind of stuff. Like, this stuff in an iOS game will most likely be real currency, like, oh, give us $12 or something like that, and we'll give you these cards so you can play the actual tower defense game itself. And it just doesn't feel right. So yeah, you can also see here, like, there's an XP bar here, so you play more missions, you level up, and then after you level up a certain amount, you get a new level of this skill tree. So you can see here, like, you unlock a new one at 8, 12, 16, 20, and so on and so forth, and then you got to purchase them. And this just straight up makes the game easier, so grinding makes the game easier. So I don't feel like I'm actually really impacting the game. I feel like the game is just, like, trying to wait me out, it's like one of those bad iOS games where you just click on them, and that's the main point of the game, and you just wait. You just wait, and you wait, and wait. Except it's a more active waiting, so rather than just watching a progress bar fill, you're playing a tower defense game, and that's essentially what the progress bar is in this game. It's the tower defense game, so it's just like, if you're okay with the tower defense section of this game, and you're okay with waiting and doing that kind of stuff, then I suppose this game will be for you. But for me, like, I'm just not a fan of this type of gameplay, because, like, normally, tower defense games, I'm okay with them. Like, Go Home Dinosaurs or Plants vs. Zombies, those are great games. Fantastic games. But this type of gameplay is just, like, it feels like it's extorting me from, like, it's not even taking my money. No, it's not. It just feels like it's extorting me with my time. Like, it's taking my time away from me that I could be spending on other games. This is just something to play and just kill time, which I'm not a fan of that type of stuff. So that's my opinions on Prime World Defenders. I'm not a big fan of it, but it's gorgeous graphically. It's got very interesting cutscenes at the beginning. It's got nice voice acting, I suppose. And yeah, aside from that, you know, it's okay, but I just feel like it's a bit too progress bar-y and not enough game. So there's a link to the Steam store page in the description and stuff like that. And, you know, if you want to buy it, you can. So, GG everyone. Oh wait, gotta show the options menu. This is the options menu. That's it. Volume slider and stuff like that. Resolution. That's it. So yeah, GG everyone.